Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Alright, for my first kids craft, we are going to be making a Christmas tree advent calendar. And I'm going to be making this out of felt. So we're going to need some fabric. I've got here half a yard of some, actually I've got a whole yard here, but I'm probably going to use about half a yard of green felt. I'm going to be using some red, and you can just use the little squares of felt that come like this. But since I had these fabric pieces, I'm going to go ahead and use that. And then I've got a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white. So those are the four colors that we're going to want in felt. Got some fiber fill or quilter's batting. You can use that. You can use some stickers such as these that are already made. Now keep in mind you're going to need a lot of ones and a lot of twos. So you want to make sure that you get a big or a couple of packages of stickers if you want to use that. Just so that you know, you're going to need to have at least 12 ones, 9 twos, 3 threes. Also in 4 and 5, you're going to need 3 of each, and 2 of each of the 0, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I will put this in the description box below. We're going to be needing some little red bows if you want to decorate your advent calendar any further, and a little roll of ribbon. I got this from Hobby Lobby as well as this, including my felt and my stickers. But I went to the Dollar Tree to get some candy. So I got little Santas with little caramel, some little holiday balls, and then I got this extra one here that had little Santas and snowmen. Just small, thin candies that can fit into the little pockets that I'm going to create. I also went ahead and I grabbed this little 12-pack of erasers because they were small enough. It's not a toy, but you know, it's just a little something that they can get maybe as a surprise in every other day or so, along with a little candy. I'm going to be using some twine, and I got this from the Dollar Tree. You can get any color twine you want. If you want to use a natural color twine, go right ahead. We're going to be needing some tacky glue because the kids will be working with this. If you're going to create this yourself, you can certainly use a glue gun. But if you're going to have the kids doing this, you want to use a glue that is safe for them to use. So I've got myself some Aleene's tacky glue. You can use an Elmer's glue if you want. Some scissors, and make sure you get some safe scissors for kids to do. Okay, and just a surface to work on. Cover it up with whatever you need so the kids don't make a mess, and let's get to crafting. Okay, I'm going to start off with my red felt, and I've got a little scrap of red felt here that I've grabbed off my fabric, or if you get some squares like this, you can start off with one of them. And we're going to measure our candy to see what size our little pockets can be. Now our little pockets can be little squares, or they can be circles like ornament balls. It's your choice what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and decide that I probably want little squares. I would like little ornament balls, but I feel like they might have to be a little bit bigger to make sure that they encompass being able to put these little candy, depending on what you choose. Again, don't pick anything that's too big. This candy is 1.5 or about 1.5 almost by 2 inches in size, and it's nice and flat. It's maybe a 1/4 inch at the widest. So these are just small candies. Obviously the eraser small, the little ball, and so forth. So that's what you want to choose. Otherwise you're going to end up having to have really big pockets, and you're going to have a humongous tree as your advent calendar. But if you don't mind that, then go for it. Okay, so I'm going to measure again my candy to see what size the candy would fit. Now you can use a ruler and decide that maybe you need, let's see, the candy maybe, I said it was 2 inches tall, so maybe 2.5 inches at its height, and maybe 3 inches at the width. So I'm going to say a 3 by 2.5 inch. So it's really a rectangle that we're going to be cutting out. So let's go ahead and move these out of the way, and let's make sure that we make a note of that. It was a 3 by 2.5. All right, here I've got my strip of red fabric that I'm going to go ahead and start using. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half. I could probably fold it in half one more time, and then what I'm going to do, because I said that I needed my pockets to be at least 2.5 inches long, I'm going to put it on my little grid here. If you don't have a grid, just use your ruler to do your measuring and measure down 2.5 inches, and that is the point where you will cut them. I could use my rotary cutter, but the purpose is that if you mark it maybe with a pen, and that's what I'm going to do, just mark it with a pen, and then you can have the kids cut these out. Now remember, you're going to need 25 of these. So let's go ahead and start cutting. And we don't have to worry about the pen lines because we could always turn the fabric around and put that down so that that'll be in the inside. We're going to mark another one just kind of loosely, and if you can mark it all the way down, because the kids probably cannot cut, you know, a piece of fabric that is, you know, folded like this in four. It might be too difficult for them. They might only be able to cut it once, so maybe little squares like this will probably be better to work with, so it's easier for them to manage. If they're bigger kids, they can probably do it double. If you want to do this and do it as a little gift for someone, then you could fold it into 4 bits. I don't know how many I need of these, so I'm just going to go ahead and do another strip because I can get another strip out of this scrap of fabric. Okay. Alright, so now we can open these up. They're not perfect, but they're good enough. I'm going to line them up, and we needed them to be 3 inches wide, so then we would measure 3 inches over, and then you can just mark it with your pen or little Sharpie, whatever you want to use, and then go ahead and just mark all of them, depending on if you're marking them this way or that way. Just mark all of them at 3 inches. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move this one out of the way. Just a free hand. And 3 over here. This is probably going to be a little scrap at the end. Let's put that on top. And then I'm going to do something in a minute so that we can kind of get an idea of how much we need. That's 6, 9, 12, 15, that's 18, so we need a few more to get 25, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the fabric and go ahead and finish that off, and then I'll be right back. Alright, I've cut 25 squares of this red felt, or actually it's a rectangle, and they're 3 inch by 2.5. If I was to purchase these little 9 by 12 inch rectangles of felt, which they come like this already cut at the store, this is their standard size, then you would need at least three of these sheets of the red to create these little 25 pockets. Now, if for some reason that you decide to do a smaller, just a smaller candy, and that's really all you're going to put inside, or if you're just going to make it into a countdown calendar and you don't need any candies or anything inside, you don't want to have that, then you can make these little squares a lot smaller, or make little circles, and then you could probably get 25 out of either 1, depending on how small you're going to make them, or at least get 2 sheets. But if you're going to make them the size that I'm doing, you're going to need at least 3. I can get 12 out of each one. So out of 2 is 24. I need 25, so obviously I need 1 more. And I am going to have a little scrappy here, which is not enough for 1 more. So get 3 sheets if you're doing it in my size. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to do the numbers, and I'm going to be using white felt to do my numbers. Now originally I wanted to go ahead and just cut out all the numbers, and I started doing the instructions, but I thought, you know what, it's a little bit too complicated for everybody. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to pull out a black Sharpie, and I'm going to be using that to draw my numbers, because I decided to change this. What I need to do is I need to cut out 25 little squares or little circles out of the white felt, and I think I like the idea of cutting little circles because I did do little squares here. So I'm going to do a little circle, and then we're going to draw the numbers with a Sharpie. We probably need a couple of Sharpies just to make sure that they're nice and you know, enough pigment in them, or you can use a permanent marker. This is doing some reflection, so I'm going to move that out of the way. You can use a permanent marker to write on the felt. Now, if you don't want to use felt, if you feel like felt's going to be too hard to write on, go ahead and get yourself like a cardstock, either in white or some other color where you will see the black print on it. Or if you just want to go ahead and just write on your red little felt square, go ahead and do that. But you can use cardstock, like a scrapbooking paper cardstock, and get a white sheet or two to cut out either little circles or little squares. So let's see how big these little squares should be. I think I like the idea of this 1 inch. Let me see if that'll be big enough. I think I'm gonna go, and I think I was saying I was gonna do little circles, but you know what, let me go ahead and cut 1.5 inch strips. So maybe this is something that you might want to get prepared ahead for the kids. Let me go ahead and do it, measure this way so that I can see where the 1/2 inch is. So measure down 1.5, and then get your pen or your pencil and mark that. Let's mark another 1.5 right there. And we can keep doing that. Okay, so once you've got your little strips already marked on your 9.5 inch sheet of felt, and once you've got it all marked, go ahead and start cutting them. And if you can get 25 1.5 by 1.5 out of one sheet, then you only need one sheet of felt, of white felt. Could save myself the trouble and use my rotary cutter. Okay, but because we're going to have kids cut this, they're going to be using their little scissors. So that's why I say, if you feel like felt is too hard to work with, then go ahead and get yourself some cardstock. Because getting stickers, you're going to have to buy a ton of them. Let's just go ahead and I'll cut off the rest of the strips so that I know that I have enough for 25. So now I'm going to measure 1.5 inches. So you measure either using your ruler or your measuring tape, however you want to measure it, 1.5 inches. It's nice to have a little grid like this because then you can measure things very easily. Okay, I'm going to mark it. So again, mark every 1.5 inches and give the kids these little strips and let them cut them, or mark everything 1.5 this way and then mark more lines going this way at 1.5 and let them cut out the little squares. So here we have a little square. Now I can either leave it like that and put it on here, and that would look cute, and then paint my number on there with my marker, which I think I'm going to do. Or you could cut it into a sort of a circle, so you just round off the corners like so. Just round off the little corners, and that gives you like a little circle. And then that'll get glued down on here, and then you can just write your number on there. So I'm going to go ahead and write the number 1, and that's just a straight number. You can have the kids do it themselves. Just a number 1 like that, or if you want to make it fancy, do your number like that. Okay, so what would also be easy, so that it doesn't move around so much when you're painting, is go ahead and mark all your lines, which I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and mark the rest of these lines, and then the ones going this way. So then we can go ahead and write the numbers on the sheet before we actually even cut them out. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I've drawn lines going across and then down to measure 1.5 by 1.5 inch little squares. I've already drawn the number 1, so I'm not going to draw the number 1. I'm going to pretend that we did that right there. And this one's already the 1, so then maybe they just need to draw the number 2. And any little hairs like that seem to want to move around, have your little scissors ready and just grab it off. 3, 4, and so forth till you get to 25. And then you could just come back and then maybe draw them even darker, or use a fabric paint. But like I said, a cardstock would probably be better for this so that you don't have these little fuzzy little hairs from your felt getting dragged around and then, you know, just looking messy. I'm going to continue doing the 25, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut out my little squares, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to round them off because I really do like the rounded ornament. Okay, and I shall be back. Alright, I've got all my numbers drawn, and then I've cut them out, and then I've trimmed around the edges to make them into a circle. Again, you can leave them in little squares. It's up to you. You can make these little squares and maybe make these rounded into little circles. So, okay, now we're going to go ahead and just glue all the numbers onto the little squares. So we're just going to put some glue, some tacky glue at the back. You don't need very much, just a little bit. Get it on there. So let's get the kids to start gluing these on. Now make sure that you tell them the wider part is going across and this is up and down. So make sure they put their number with the wider part to the sides and the smaller to the up and down. Okay, we're going to continue gluing these on. So while you get the kids gluing these on, you can go on to the next step, which would be cutting out of the Christmas tree. Alright, all the numbers have been glued on here, so we're going to let them dry. So we're going to go into the next step, which is the tree. Now I did say while the kids are doing this, you can start up the tree, so you'll probably watch the video ahead of time, and then you'll know what size to cut the tree, so you can start cutting it while the kids are doing this. If you want to go ahead and give the kids an extra thing to do, or the one kid, I don't know how many people you're going to have, or how many little children, or other people you're going to have helping you with this. You could also get these little bows ready, and then they could also then put a little dot of glue at the top of each number and stick a bow right on it. So we can make them look like little ornaments right on that little pocket. Okay. Alright, so what I have here is a 22 by 30 inch rectangle of felt, and I've actually cut two of them, one for the front of my tree and one for the back of my tree, and I'm just going to fold it in half now. So now what I want to do is going to do like a triangle. So this is a half of a triangle, so we can work all our little pockets into it. So we're just going to mark like that. And I originally measured, and when I put my little squares on the green, I decided that it needed to be 22 by 28, and I did say this is a 30, so 28 is about right here. So I got an extra 2 inches. But I'm going to go ahead and just mark right here, and then I'm going to trim that. Now the triangle does not have to be perfect because these are going to be little branches in a minute. I'm probably going to move the camera to a better angle so that we can see the whole thing once I unfold it. Okay. So this is the shape of our tree. Now we are going to cut into it to make like little branches, so don't be despaired by this particular shape. Okay, but first, before we do that, we want to get our little squares, and like I said, we get the little kids to glue all those little pieces together, so we have our, we're going to call them little pockets. So we get our little pockets all glued and dry. These are not quite dry yet, they're still wet, so we're going to let them rest. Maybe have the kids watch something on TV while it's dry, because it is tacky glue and it does take a little bit longer. Okay, so I'm going to set up the camera at a better angle so that we can look at this, and then we will go ahead and come back. And okay, I've got all these ready, and they're not dry yet, as I said, but we're going to go ahead and put them on here so we can see how the shape of our tree is coming out. Okay, so the way that I figured this out is we're going to need a row of 5 numbers, and we need 3 rows of 5 numbers, a row of 4, a row of 3, a row of 2, and then a row, just a 1 number, which is the 25. Let me get this a little closer to myself. We're going to put the 25 right up at the very tippy top. And then we're going to follow with 2 numbers, which is the 23 and the 24, sorry. Right there. Okay. And then 3 numbers. We'll just spread them out as nicely as I can. I dropped one, I'm not sure. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. Okay, that's 4, and then the next rows are going to be 5 each. So just in between the other pockets, put them as close as you can. We're just putting them down on here for now, and then we're going to move them and calculate them a little bit better. So now the next 3 rows, this is the first one, the next 2 rows are going to be 5 little pockets, and then like so. Okay, so now you can see how these little pockets fit into this particular triangle that we've cut out, and as you see we have lots of space down here. So now we just want to get them as close as we can. We want to give them a good amount of space here, maybe ½ an inch, but maybe a ¼ inch apart. And your kids are going to be helping you with this, so they may not be straight, but you can help them out with aligning them, just like that. I'm going to fold this over a little bit so I can make sure that these and then our very tippy top one right about here. Okay, and we can move them up a little bit if we feel that we need to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pen. I'm going to keep this fold up like that. I'm going to use my pen to sort of mark like where a branch would come in, and then another one on this side, and they kind of come down. Let me use a Sharpie so that you can see that. And then come down, maybe another branch right here. And then another one right here. Another one. And it doesn't have to be even on the sides, okay? If you want to make them even, you can just mark one side, and then when you fold them, just follow the line and cut them together. I feel like this should be a little more like that. Okay. And that's what I'm going to do right there, okay? So now all I have to do is follow my Sharpie lines. I'm going to take the numbers off of it. Okay, so I want to see if you can see what I've marked here. And you can just mark it one side, and then you can just fold it. And then just follow that line that you've drawn and cut it out. But I've gone ahead and done both sides because I don't want it necessarily to be exactly the same. It kind of is, but not really. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start trimming my tree, following my mark. And I'm not going to worry about the Sharpie lines I'm showing because I could always just put this on the inside. Alright, I am finishing up cutting out my tree shape, as you can see right here. Now, like I said, don't worry about your marker lines, but what we can do is we can just lift this one up, pull that one out of the way, put this one down, and then this one will go on top of this. It'll have the same shape, just like that. Okay, so now you don't have any marker lines. So now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and fold the top one in half, slide it over just like that, and then we're going to take our quilter's batting, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to get a piece of this quilter's batting, and this is enough where I can double it actually. So I'm going to leave it like that at the double mark. I'm going to put my tree over it because now this can be actually smaller than my tree. And as you can see, there's a little bit still that needs some space, but I can always use these little bits here. So I'm going to go ahead, do the same thing, and I'm going to trace my tree. And I'm not going to worry my mark on top of here because I'm going to cut that out anyway. And then the bottom is obviously, so I'll know what size. Okay, so now what we're going to do with this is we're going to follow those marker lines, but we're actually going to go like about 2 inches in. And I can trim it once I have it on top of my tree. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now that we have this shape cut, and this was long enough obviously, we're going to move this over. It would be the size of the height of the tree. We're going to put this one down and bring this one over. And we want to make sure that it fits inside of our tree. And anywhere where it's a little bit too big, we can trim it. Give it a trim. Like that. We want to have an edge here where we can put some glue down. So that's why I'm trimming all this. I think that's good. We have enough space here. We need a little bit of a triangle, so I'm just going to loosely cut that. You could save some money and just stuff it with a whole bunch of cotton balls from the Dollar Tree. Those work fine and they're not too thick. Okay, there we go. There's our little piece right there. If you don't want that moving, add some tacky glue. Some tacky glue here at the top. A little bit on the sides. So we can let that dry, and then we're going to go ahead and put some glue. This has to be up here a little bit. Glue on the edges. Lots of glue. And then we're going to glue down the other piece. Bring it down the middle right here. Unfold it so that then these pieces can get glued down together. Okay, so that's what you'll do. You just lift it up, put some glue, and then do the same on the other side. Put some glue down and then push this down and push the edges together. And then we're going to let that dry, and then when it's dry, we'll come back and decorate our tree. Alright, so while our tree is drying, we're going to go ahead and cut off a piece of scrap yellow, and then you can get a little square, a little 9 by 12 square. They're not expensive, the felt squares. Just get yourself a little square for the yellow. We're going to get a little bit like that, and we're going to fold it in half. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and cut it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these little squares. I want to make sure that this is going to be smaller than that. I'm going to draw a star with my Sharpie, the best way I know how, till I think it's the correct shape. Okay, so now I can put this on top of this other square, and we'll cut out this little, we'll have the kids do it, cut 2 of them, cut one and then they can cut the other. Okay, now we've got these 2 stars, and they're not perfect because I obviously didn't cut right along the lines. We're pretending that kids are cutting this. Ha! Actually, that's just the way that I would do it. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this one out and put glue where I've done all this messy marker. And I'm going to put lots of tacky glue And because I know that it takes a while to dry, get my twine, make a little knot. I don't know why that helps, but it does. You can have the string coming out of the top of the star, anywhere. It doesn't really matter. If you cut a nice shape, then it doesn't really matter. I'm just putting some extra glue on it and making sure that there's also glue over the twine. So now I can take the other star that we cut out and glue it on top of that. So I'm basically sandwiching the end of the twine between the little star. So I have that little ornament, okay? So now we're gonna take this tree, and it's not quite dry yet. Now, I will let you know that I did use, if I was using tacky glue, it wouldn't be dry yet. So we're pretending it's not dry yet. Anyway, I did use some glue from my glue gun to glue the edges, so it actually is dry. Okay, so there we go. We're gonna measure this from the top of the tree and make sure that it can reach all the way like that across, just like that. So that tells us that is a good length. So that's where we can cut it. I'm gonna give it a little bit extra. Make another little knot right there. Okay, let me do a double knot. I just noticed that this string isn't really red, it's more kind of like a burnt orange. But anyway, you can use this one or use a piece of ribbon or use the other twine. Okay, so we're still waiting for those little squares to dry, so we're going to set this aside and we're going to be back when the little squares are dry. Okay, so we're back with our tree and our little squares and they're dry. So I'm going to put this little star, and I actually have some ribbon that I'm going to use. I'm going to put those aside because I'm not using them yet. I'm going to go back the way that I had them before. I had the 25 way at the top, then I had the 24, the 23, because we count this way, so make sure 23, 24, like that. And then the next row is supposed to be 3, and then the row after that is supposed to be 4. So I'm just placing them down for now, okay? And then the row after that will be 5, and then 5 and 5. And then the 25 was fine where it was. Okay, so there we go. I have now decided where the placement's going to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up each one, and we'll start at the bottom one. And we're not going to put any glue on the top part underneath here. We're just going to put glue behind it on the sides and at the bottom. And if this is a project that you're doing on your own, you're an adult, or at least old enough to use a glue gun, you're not having kids do this, go ahead and use your glue gun. And this is going to create a little pocket right here. So I'll put my finger in there as I press it down, so I know that there's some room in there. Okay, I'm going to turn this around so that I can see it. Okay, have the kids help you put tacky glue. Put your fingers in there, put it down. Have them put their little fingers in there, you press it down. That's just to make sure that there's some give and space. We don't want these stretched out flat like that, because when you try to put something in there, that might pull it off, okay? So that's why we're putting our fingers in there before we glue them down. Okay. We're going to continue doing that till I've got them all glued on there, and then I shall be back. Alright everyone, here is my tree and the little pockets. Let's get a little close-up of that so that you can see how they look from different angles. There we go. I hope that you could see that they do have a little space where they are open right here. And then we can slide something in there and there's plenty of space. And it won't be tight and it won't pull off. Okay, I'm hoping this is dry. I put little dots here and there with my hot glue gun to kind of hold them together in case they're not completely dry, so that I can continue with the craft. Okay, so I have this little star here. So my idea is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of trimming on it, because I see some parts where it's like, I can see the marker where it wasn't covered by the other side. And I'm just making sure that it looks like it's aligned. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so now we're gonna get our little string up at the top, and we're gonna glue it down up here using our tacky glue, or if you wanna help the kids out, or if you're doing this yourself, then use the hot glue gun. And we're gonna put that right on there. And then we're gonna take some ribbon, and we're just gonna make a regular bow. Let's go ahead and trim that. And trim this other side. And I think there's still plenty of glue right there, where I can glue this little bow to the top of my tree. Okay, so at the very top, we want to take a little bit of ribbon, and I'm just gonna make a little knot. And because we want something to hang it from when we put it on the wall. In this case, I'm gonna go ahead and use my glue gun, you know, for the sake of not having the kids have to do this part. I'm gonna put plenty of glue at the back here, and then glue that down. And we'll wait for that to dry so then it can be ready to be hung. Okay, so the idea here is, because we have this little star, we're going to start marking the days. Let me get these items out of the way. We can start marking the days as we count down. So here's our first day of Christmas. We're going to put that right in there. And we could just do it like that if we just wanted this to be just a countdown calendar tree. And then a second day of Christmas, and so forth. So our little star is climbing its way up to the top of the tree right here, as you can see. Okay, so that would be the idea of this. But the other thing you could also do is you could take your little candies, slide one in, go ahead and mark it December the 1st. So once you get to December the 1st, they can pull out the candy, put in the star, and they can have that little treat. So what you can do ahead of time is you can start putting in some candy. I'm going to put a Santa in this one. I had a little ball right there. Another one. And then just keep doing that till you have filled up your whole Advent calendar. And however way you want to fill these up. Okay, and then maybe ever so often, these little erasers, maybe they get a little extra treat. Okay, so I'm just making sure they all have a candy so far. Some doesn't. If you want to put 2 little balls in there, go right ahead, which I probably will. And some of these, I like this little teddy bear. He's so cute. I'm going to put him at the very top. And then ever so often, like I said, maybe an extra little treat. Or a little ornament. Oh, this little penguin's so cute too. Let's put him in there with that one. Okay, I think he's filled. Everything's filled. I've got some more erasers. Just something small as a little gift. There we go, a little snowman in there. A little gifty, right? Let's put him on the 23rd. So we skip a day and then we give him an extra little something. I'll just put an extra treat in that one. Okay, there we go. That is my finished Christmas tree. The little bow keeps coming off. Oh my goodness, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use my glue gun just for the heck of it, just to finish this off a little quicker. Of course, like I said, with the kids, you probably want to just use a tacky glue, but if you want to help them out and finish it up, because everybody's going to be so excited, use a little bit of the glue gun. Okay, there we go. Our tree is finished. This is my kids' Christmas tree Advent calendar. I'm very happy with it. I think it came out really cute. I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up. Make sure you give me a big old thumbs up and leave a nice comment down below. And subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. So make sure you hit that little notification button as well, so that you get notified when I put up a video. I hope you're enjoying these little kids crafts. I have more to do. This one's early in November, so that you make sure that you get all your supplies to have it ready for the 1st, which is on a Saturday, December the 1st on a Saturday. Okay, so also make sure you share on your social medias. Thank you all very much to all of you who have been subscribing. You have done my heart so good. It makes me feel really good and inspired. And of course, I'm just going to continue doing crafts and recipes for you. And there you go. And as always, enjoy.